For the longest time, when thinking of emerging economies, you automatically think of the BRIC countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and even South Africa. However, today there are different countries across the globe that are entering that stage where their economy is just about to take off. And that term BRIC is not fully encapsulating the true emerging economies of today. And that's what we're discussing today. This video highlights the top 3 emerging economies to pay attention to in 2022. In third place, we have Uzbekistan. This Central Asian nation that once lied along the ancient Silk Road has seen efforts to become more liberalized or opening themselves to the world. In 2019, The Economist named Uzbekistan as their country of the year. And recently, the World Bank ranked Uzbekistan among one of the highest nations as becoming most business friendly. Uzbekistan has taken the complete opposite approach as some of their neighbors, what you could call modern day dictatorships like Kazakhstan or Turkmenistan. Uzbekistan's economy is primarily made up of agriculture and natural resource extraction. Uzbekistan is the 6th largest producer of cotton in the world, and as much as 1/5 of the Uzbek working population works in cotton production. And throughout 2020 and the pandemic, Uzbekistan is one of the few countries in the world that has boasted positive growth. This was due to their steady agriculture sector. And in fact, their poverty levels have returned to pre-pandemic levels. And now, looking toward the future, Uzbekistan is looking to grow their tech sector. Tashkent, their capital, is already looked at as the Silicon Valley of Central Asia. And in 2019, Uzbekistan saw the opening of the IT Park, which is supposed to focus on youth and getting them involved with entrepreneurship, technology, and coding. However, one geographic challenge for Uzbekistan is their landlocked position within Central Asia. However, they're trying to gain a strategic advantage of being the logistical and transportation hub of Central Asia, and this will create routes and access to ports, which will help further their exports. And of recently, the Uzbek economy is starting to garner a lot of interest among foreign investment. That's why I believe Uzbekistan has a bright future, and that's why I rank it as number 3 emerging economy to watch in 2022. And coming second on the list is Vietnam. To me, the Vietnamese economy is one of the most exciting in the world. It reminds me of where China was 25 years ago, just ready to take off. Flashing back to the country's darker days during the Vietnam War and in the decade that followed, Vietnam was amongst the poorest countries in the world. But then in 1986, the Vietnamese government came out with a policy called Doi Moi, which in Vietnamese means renovation. This was a major economic reform, and it allowed for the Vietnamese to own small businesses, and it also created a stock exchange in the country. And looking back, this policy has been such a success. From the 1990s onward till today, the Vietnamese economy has seen consistent growth of 5 to 7% annually. And poverty has decreased rapidly too. In 1990, 95% of the Vietnamese population lived off of less than $5.50 per day. Today, that figure is 22%. Today, the Vietnamese economy is largely made up of these 3 sectors. That's manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism, with a heavy focus on exporting goods abroad. In fact, the Vietnamese exports have tripled over the past decade. And like Uzbekistan, Vietnam was one of the few countries around the world that managed to avoid a recession during the pandemic. Already, Vietnam has made amazing strides, but can they propel themselves into the next category? Well, that's their goal. They've stated by 2045 they want to be classified as a high-income country. PwC came out with a publication called The World in 2050, and in that publication they wrote that if Vietnam can continue to maintain a 5% growth rate through 2050, that will put Vietnam as the 20th largest economy in the world, which would put them in that high-income echelon of countries. However, Vietnam does have a couple challenges ahead of them, and one being an aging population. Now, this is a common problem that you see in developed countries like Japan, Finland, or Portugal, but not something that you very often see in emerging economies. So this will be a challenge for Vietnam to manage this rapid growth with an aging population. And another challenge that they face is they're heavily reliant on China for exports. So if the status quo continues, then it won't be a problem. But as things become more volatile with China and the trading world, this could become an issue. So before we get to number one, let's have a few honorable mentions for the countries that just barely missed the list. Ethiopia has a promising economy with potential for large growth in the future. However, right now there's a civil war going on between the Tigray region and the Ethiopian government, which is the reason we're leaving Ethiopia off the list this year. We also gave consideration to Guyana, who in 2020 was the fastest growing economy with a growth rate of over 40%. However, the reason why they were not included was because this was in large part due to a discovery of oil and is not a long-term fundamental change that's going to lead to sustainable growth. But hopefully Guyana can use this to propel their economy to more successes in the future. Number one, Bangladesh. This country over the past decade has been the fastest growing, averaging growth rates of over 7%. Bangladesh just celebrated their 50th birthday this past year, and they've come quite a long way during that time. And now today, the Bangladesh economy has seen a changing dynamic away from agriculture and more towards manufacturing and services. A side note that I found interesting is that 7% of Bangladesh's GDP comes from Bangladeshis abroad sending money that they earn to their loved ones in Bangladesh. However, the bread and butter of the Bangladesh economy today is clothing production. They're producing clothes and exporting them to Europe and the United States. However, unlike the other two countries on this list, Bangladesh has been negatively impacted from COVID-19, but not as bad as some of the other emerging economies around the world. Bangladesh is the 8th largest country in the world in terms of population, and this large labor force is part of the driving factor of this economy. Not only are there a lot of people, but the participation rates are also very high. And looking at female participation rate is 58%. The men are as high as 82%. This abundant labor market has made Bangladesh an attractive option for clothing production. In 1990, if you looked on the back of your tag on your clothes, you would probably see something that said Made in China. Today, in 2022, you're likely to see Made in Bangladesh. Now looking at some economic goals and the road ahead for Bangladesh, the IMF has projected a 6.6% growth rate for Bangladesh. And Bangladesh's Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, she said that she envisioned Bangladesh becoming a middle-income country by 2021 and a developed country by 2041. And this may have seemed like a lofty goal, but we're already seeing some of it come into fruition. In 2026, the UN is set to graduate Bangladesh from what they call a least developed country to a developing economy, which I don't know how you schedule this graduation from one bucket to another, but that's what the UN does, and that's what they have planned for Bangladesh. Now, there's still a long way to go before that they can be considered a developed economy, but if they take the right steps, they can get there eventually. However, Bangladesh does have a set of obstacles that they will have to overcome if they want to be considered a developed country in the future. 3 particularly come to mind. 1 being poverty. Well, the official poverty rate is around 20% in Bangladesh. Still, 85% of the population is living off of less than $5.50 per day. Second, and I don't have a good answer for this, is their geographic location is susceptible to natural disasters and flooding. And third, as automation becomes more prevalent, we're likely to see that clothing production shift away from manual labor to machines. This could cause a major blow to the Bangladesh economy. However, to combat these issues, Bangladesh is already doing a few things. One thing I really like is they're focusing on building better infrastructure across the country. Overall, this will make the country more efficient. It will boost economic growth, create jobs, and also connect some of the rural areas to the economic centers like Dhaka and Chittagong. Furthermore, this will help them grow their foreign investment, which will be critical for them moving forward to growing their economy and getting away from just clothing production and diversify what their economy can offer. If Bangladesh can do this, they can continue to grow and maybe one day reach what's considered a developed country. That's why I look at Bangladesh and I see that they're facing more challenges than your average emerging economy. But with these challenges also comes more room for growth and more potential. And let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and what countries you think should be in this list or shouldn't have been in this list. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. We'll make more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching.